This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. The European Research Group. This is the group of Eurosceptic Tory backbench MPs, headed, of course, by one certain Jacob Rees-Mogg, and they are becoming a part of our daily political lives, forever holding conferences, get-togethers, some of them in public, some of them in private, and last night 50 of their members, they have about 60 in all, 50 of their members met, chaired by Steve Baker, former Brexit minister who resigned, and, to be fair, the very senior members, the Ian Duncan Smiths of this world, the David Davises, the Rees-Moggs, were not in the room, but still, 50 Tory MPs met last night to discuss what's to happen with the leader of the Conservative Party, the Prime Minister, Theresa May. And Robert Peston of ITV has a really remarkable account. Some of the feedback he got included, everyone I know says she has to go. She's a disaster. This can't go on. Open rebellion from 50 of them, discussing the methods and mechanisms needed to get rid of the Prime Minister. One MP said to him, "It was truly mind-blowing. You felt the ground opening up under your feet." So there is a very serious rebellion afoot. And yet, when Mr. Rees-Mogg was questioned what he thought about the Prime Minister, he said she has been fantastically dutiful. I think that may count actually as a somewhat backhanded compliment. And David Davis said, "I think we've got a very good Prime Minister." So actually, whenever these people are asked, do you think Mrs. May should be removed? No, they say. She's absolutely marvellous. We just disagree with her on the point of Chequers. Let me tell you something. What these people are saying in public and what they're saying in private are two very different things indeed. I know that for a fact. But nobody wants to be seen to be the person wielding the knife. Indeed, Boris, in his resignation speech in July, had the opportunity to trigger a leadership challenge against the Prime Minister. He declined to do so. Is she the right person to lead the Conservative Party and lead us through Brexit? I have always thought the answer to that is no, right from day one. But if she chucks Chequers, and if she goes for a Canada-style free trade deal, she will survive. If she sticks with Chequers, my guess is she'll go. The trouble is, if you're a committed Brexiteer, if you get rid of the Prime Minister at the end of this month and trigger a leadership election, what time is there going to be to actually negotiate a Brexit deal to meet the deadline of March the 29th? I think their indecision, these people, has actually put them in a bit of a pickle. So I think she's the wrong person, but I think she can survive. What do you think, folks? Is she the right person to stay as leader? Maybe you think we need her for stability. In which case, call 0345 6060 973, or maybe you think, actually, to get a real Brexit, it'll never happen with that woman in number 10, in which case text to 84850 and tell me, if she was to go, who'd you like to see in her place? Let me know. Tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC, at LBC, and of course, watch us on Facebook. Comment there too. I'm here in the EU Parliament, where today we've heard from Mr. Juncker, and there's been a big vote on Hungary. And wow, the grip is getting tighter from Brussels on Hungary. More of that later. But come on, tell me, is she the right person to stay as leader? Are these 50 MPs who are plotting, are they right to want to replace her? If they're right, why are they so cowardly and not saying it in public? Let's try and find the answer by asking Audrey in Southend-on-Sea. Audrey, good evening.
Hello there, Nigel. No, she's not the right person. I used to believe she was, but not anymore. I think she sold us down in Brexit all the way along. She's gone cap in hand to every country begging for deals when she should have just stood up to them and said, enough's enough, we're going.
Audrey, did you vote for her in the general election last year?
Yes.
You did? Right, so...
Well, I'll be honest with you, I used to nickname her Maggie May, because I did think she was actually another Maggie.
Oh, Audrey, you really were taken in, weren't you?
I was, wasn't I?
Yeah, you really were done over on that one, I'm afraid.
I did, didn't I?
But here's the problem, Audrey. Here's the problem. Okay, right, you're clearly a Eurosceptic. You believe that, Brexit means Brexit and all the things she said. But here's the problem, Audrey. if they get rid of her now, do you see my point? That it won't
think that'd be a bad idea.
It won't be an uncontested leadership. It'll take 6, 7, 8 weeks or whatever it is to sort out.
Right.
By which time, you can see the other side saying, well, we're running out of time now. We'll have to suspend Article 50. So, Audrey, if she gets rid of Chequers and adopts a deal or pushes for a deal that you can accept, would you, in those circumstances, bear with her as Prime Minister?
I do only bear with her because I know that it will delay what's already been delayed for so many.
It's a right old mess, Audrey, isn't it? Audrey, thank you. I'm going to move on to Charlotte in the Forest of Dean. Charlotte, tell me, is she the right person to be Prime Minister?
No, she's never been the right person to be Prime Minister, Nigel.
No, well, that's my view too.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the first few months after she took over, we were hopeful, as anyone would be, I think, considering the mess everything was in. But unfortunately, she's capitulated again and again to the European Union. She's deliberately gone against the wishes of the Brexiters. And I think really she's led the Conservative Party into a real heap of trouble, because who the hell is going to vote for them in the state that they're currently in? And to me, that's UKIP's game if they play the cards right.
Well, Charlotte, it's very interesting. I have commented earlier on this week about UKIP, who have probably, in theory, the biggest electoral potential they've ever had in their history. But at the moment, they don't quite appear to be taking it. Charlotte, thank you. And Charlotte, utterly disenchanted with the Prime Minister. Trouble is, as Audrey said before, if you have a leadership election now, we'll be in an even bigger mess, won't we? Theo says on Facebook, Bojo for the Tories leadership and premiership, ASAP. Trouble is, Theo, it wouldn't be uncontested. You'd find if Boris, if she went and Boris put his name forward as leader, there'd be an Amber Rudd or a Philip Hammond or somebody on the other side. There would have to be a contest. Rudy is calling from Exeter. Rudy, good evening.
Hi, Nigel. I wouldn't vote for the Tory party as long as she's Prime Minister. Never. Ever.
Okay. Well,
let me ask you, Rudy. Can't be trusted, yeah.
Let me ask you, Rudy, before you go on. Did you vote for her? Did you vote for her last year?
Yep.
Okay, fine. So
I did because.
What has she done to alienate you?
She's completely lied, and she's gone back on the agreement that I voted for. They all say that we didn't know what we voted for. We were all sent a leaflet for over 9 million. Explaining what we were voting for. David Cameron made it perfectly clear it was not a never-endum. And it was a one-in-a-lifetime vote. And I knew exactly what I was voting for, but everyone seems to think that we're stupid.
Yes, and because when you voted for her, Rudy, she said, Brexit means Brexit. I will take back control of our laws, our borders, and our money. And it did all sound pretty good from a sort of Brexit perspective, didn't it?
It did, and the only reason why I voted for her is because Labour weren't going to deliver it, and there was no alternative. Not because it was Theresa May, because I never wanted her to be PM from the outset. I was actually annoyed when she became PM.
So who do you want now, Rudy? Who do you want now?
Jacob Rees-Mogg, to be honest, because he's got a way about him where he's he can explain things correctly, and he's not getting aggressive or anything, and he just says how it is. You can actually trust what he's saying.
More of Jacob in the course of the next hour. Rich says by text, she needs to go. Forget the 48 letters. All we need is for 12 MPs to defect to UKIP so they can hold the balance of power and force a proper, clean Brexit. Well, that may be true, but then the Labour Party may do some funny things as well. You never know with parliamentary numbers. John on Facebook says, the alternatives are a lunatic going through a divorce and a man who can't count and just makes numbers up. Yeah, best of a bad bunch. John says, was she ever the right person? No, John, she was never the right person. She was always an establishment Remainer and not the person to take over at a time when the public had said, can you please turn around the ship of state by 180 degrees? To do that, you had to believe. That's my view. Alistair is a new caller from Northampton. Alistair, 50 Tory MPs in a room plotting to get rid of the Prime Minister. Are they doing the right thing?
Hello, Nigel. First-time caller, but long-time follower of your politics. So it's a pleasure to be able to speak to you.
Thank you.
I think you made a very valid point for when you noted that a leadership contest now would essentially render the March 2019 date for leaving impossible. So I think in a perfect world, we would replace Theresa May, because as you've said for a long time, she is a Remainer at heart. She doesn't have the best idea of Brexit in her mind because she doesn't truly believe in it. But I think what's currently happening with the European Research Group and the other entities within the Conservative Party that are now essentially forcing her hand and making the Chequers Agreement untenable, I think that is the best of both worlds, because I think she is essentially going to be forced into agreeing a deal that will be voted for within a party, which clearly isn't Chequers and clearly is potentially one that is more based on a Canadian free trade style agreement. So I think, fingers crossed, we will potentially see something
Alistair,
that does come about.
Alistair, I have been really against her, for well over a year now. I believe she's been very dishonest, frankly, duplicitous, frankly, with the British public, particularly of a general election, saying, vote for me and I'll do these things. But I'm kind of with you. If the ERG can force her to going for a Brexit position that is acceptable and gives us back control of our borders, the supremacy of our courts, those vital things that we Brexiteers voted for, then it may be better to stick with her having chucked Chequers than to go through the agonies of a leadership contest and maybe inevitably, actually, Article 50 having to be suspended. That's what really worries me. Alistair, thank you very much indeed for your call. Martin says, why didn't any of the pro-Brexit Tory MPs have the guts to stand as PM when the job was up for grabs? Well, one call Boris was going to, but he had, of course, to make a couple of phone calls to decide whose hat was going to be in the ring. But Boris was busy playing cricket and didn't actually ring Andrea Leadsom in time, so she announced she'd stand. I mean, you really actually couldn't. The thick of it, which is great fun to watch, it's got nothing on Tory party politics. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show. It's exclusively on LBC. It's now 6:15 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
LBC's been told there's no plot to remove Theresa May over the way she's handling Brexit, but leading Conservative Eurosceptic Jacob Rees-Mogg says there will always be MPs disgruntled with leadership. President Trump's just signed an executive order authorising sanctions against foreigners who meddle in US elections. Authorities in Egypt say E. coli was a factor in the deaths of a British couple from Burnley who were on holiday there last month. LBC weather, showers continuing in the north tonight, drier though elsewhere, a low of 9 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. They're accusing Croydon Mitcham Road is closed in both directions because of a police investigation at Sumner Road. It's very slow in Lee towards the Cliftons roundabout for the A20 and the South Circular after an accident earlier on. They're accused on all approaches to Trafalgar Square because Cockspur Street stays closed for emergency gas repairs. In Soho, Greek Street is closed. That's because of a fire in a building at Bateman Street. It's slow in Walthamstow on Hoe Street because the traffic lights aren't working at Walthamstow Central Station. On the rails, there's no London Overground between Hackney Downs and Chingford because of a signal failure at Clapton. And on the Tube, Regent's Park Station is closed on the Bakerloo line because the lifts aren't working.
This is LBC.
Did you know that Godzilla is an official citizen of Japan? Or that Singaporeans are the fastest walkers on the planet? And that in Hong Kong, you can get married at McDonald's. But here's the most amazing thing to know. You can discover Asia from just £379 return with Lufthansa's attractive fares. Book by October 2nd for travel starting from October 23rd. For more offers and full terms and conditions, visit lufthansa.com or speak to your travel agency.
Say yes to the world. Lufthansa.
This Wednesday, it's a £13.5 million Lotto rollover. Who wins if you win?
If I won on Lotto on Wednesday, I would buy my best mate a kebab shop and a kebab van. He's got a really friendly face and makes everyone laugh, and yeah, he's got a big heart.
Lotto. Get your ticket today. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Block management. 2 very simple words. But what do they actually mean? Well, there's budget approval for starters, then service charge invoices, health and safety paperwork, cleaning, gardening, maintenance, inspections, contracts, insurance, emergency call-outs, and a whole lot more besides.
So for complete block management solutions, just remember 3 simple letters: ABC. ABC Estates will take care of all your day-to-day management, leaving you as happy as Larry. See abcestates.co.uk or call 0800 888 6688.
What's the best coffee table decoration? A lamp? A vase? Or, yeah, a big tub of chocolatey goodness. I know which I'd have. Fortunately, at the Co-op, Celebrations and Quality Streets are just £4 each. Now that's a home improvement I can get excited about. Subject to availability. See participating stores for details.
If you or your loved one has mild Alzheimer's disease, St Pancras Clinical Research in London would like to hear from you. We're looking for people aged 50 plus with mild Alzheimer's to take part in a new clinical research study. All volunteers will be paid for their time and reasonable expenses. To find out more about the study and apply, visit stpancrasclinicalresearch.com. That's stpancrasclinicalresearch.com.
Visit swaleheating.com and put your boiler in safe hands with Swale Heating's highly qualified engineers. Rely on us to keep you warm.
Sometimes you just fancy a restyle, a new bathroom, perhaps a new kitchen. But as with all stylish things, you'll want to make sure that they're fitted to perfection. That's where Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable, so you'll find the professional you need, including an expert who'll design and install that gorgeous new kitchen or bathroom.
TrustedTrader.com. This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Well, I'm quite sure over her morning tea that the Prime Minister May was not happy to hear that 50 of her own backbenchers were plotting in a room last night how to get rid of her. None of them with even an ounce of apology in what they were saying. Real, open rebellion. So I guess as she went in today to Prime Minister's questions, the one thing she had to do was show that she can be really tough. Conservative MP Chris Philp asked the Prime Minister during PMQs about the divorce payment and the final deal.
When it comes to Brexit, the joint statement of the 8th of December last year said that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. Does the Prime Minister agree that this means the payment of the £39 billion exit payment and the Northern Irish backstop are dependent on agreeing satisfactory final state trade arrangements?
I say Prime Minister that we're very clear that we need to have a link between the future relationship and the withdrawal agreement. But we are a country that honours our obligations. We believe in the rule of law and therefore we believe in abiding by our legal obligations. However, my honourable friend is right that the specific offer was made in the spirit of our desire to reach a deal with the European Union and on the basis, as the EU themselves have said, that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. Without a deal, the position changes.
Oh, gosh, maybe that's the tough Mrs May. Maybe we're back to Brexit means Brexit and taking back control of our money, laws and borders rather than regulatory alignments and transition periods and everything else. She was trying to be tough, but you know what, folks? Wasn't really that tough, was it? I don't think that would have actually convinced any of the 50 last night who met and were plotting. But their problem is they're running out of time. Their problem is that if Boris had wielded the knife back in July, this leadership contest could have taken place during the month of August. They didn't have the bottle to do it, or perhaps they didn't think actually they had the numbers to win. I don't know. Is she the right person to stay on as Prime Minister? Peter in Wimbledon is a regular caller to this show. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening to you, Nigel. I think even by your standards, you have to admit that the country is in an utter mess. And then the reason we are where we are is purely because of Tory infighting. And that infighting started when they decided to steal your votes, actually. And Tory were eager to get UK voters to vote for Tories. That's why we end up with Brexit as it is. And you guys, by conning and lying to the public, managed to win their vote.
Oh, dear. What about the lies they told, Peter? What about 50 years of lies? Just a common market, don't worry your little heads, it'll all be fine. Oh, dear, it's now a political union. When it comes to lying, you know, even if, and I'm not sure I accept they did, but even if the Leave camp made some mistakes, the other side have been doing it for 50 years. You are right in one way, Peter. The Tories have a problem over Brexit. The Tories have a problem over the European Union. It started back in 1961 when Macmillan first made the application to join the common market. In 1974, Conservative MP Enoch Powell stood down and said vote Labour. So this has been going on, this split, this fault line, for longer than I've been alive. And it's there and ever present. But, Peter, you're on the other side of the argument. But, I mean, presumably, as somebody that's a Remainer, you'd like Mrs May to stay, wouldn't you, really?
Well, in my opinion, it's damage limitation. And the thing is that if only you guys had the guts to tell the British public, look, guys, you are going to be worse off. How much you're going to be worse off? For how long? Because there is this big riddle, Nigel, you're aware of. You never talk about that. You talked about some imaginary immigration and so on, Syrian refugees going to Hungary and so on. But you never talk about issues of Irish border, how it's going to have a conflict with the Good Friday Agreement. You never.
Well, there is no conflict with the Good Friday Agreement, and nobody mentioned that during the referendum at all. But Monsieur Barnier very cleverly plucked that out and made it an issue. Peter, all I've ever told people is they are going to be independent. They are going to be free. They're going to live in a proper democracy, and we'll be able to control our borders, choose our own relationships around the rest of the world. What's wrong with that?
Well, the fact of the matter is, Nigel, we have everything you just listed. You just you put in people's minds that we are not sovereign. For some reasons, we have no control over our borders, and you know exactly that we do. We do control all of our borders. We're out of Schengen.
Do you know, Peter?
And we control immigration because there is European Union directive.
I sat today within a few feet of Mr. Juncker giving his last State of the Union speech, where he talked again and again and again about a sovereign Europe, that sovereignty must be exercised at a European level, not on a nation-state level. Peter, you and I are never, ever, ever going to agree, but I'm pleased that you keep on calling. Martin on Facebook says, Theresa May has misled the public. She said Brexit means Brexit, but behind the scenes she was colluding to prepare a proposal that means we have a common rule book, which is worse than we have now with the EU. She's just looking after her own premiership. Well, so far, Martin, she is somehow miraculously actually surviving. Mark says the bottom line is Theresa May should have gone before Christmas. It is now too late. And in many ways, Mark, in many ways it is too late. But if she sticks with Chequers, she will be gone, because Chequers is just unacceptable to those members of the ERG, certainly unacceptable to me. Let's go to Bath and talk to Stuart. Stuart, does she stay on as Tory leader?
I think it might be quite disruptive to the whole process if she leaves now, mate.
Yep. Well, disruptive, but that rather depends, Stuart, if you think the process is going in the right direction, doesn't it?
Yeah, the thing is, Nigel, I mean, I'd probably consider myself on exactly the same end of the political spectrum as yourself. Great fan of your work, mate. I just feel we're sort of lacking alpha males in the Tory party who are just going to take this thing by the scruff of the neck, and either, if they're going to replace Theresa May, are they going to be, articulate men of, direction like yourself, or is it just going to be another filibuster, a big filibuster again, and just an ongoing process? I mean,
well, that would be pointless, wouldn't it? Utterly pointless. But Stuart, my contention is, if she absolutely sticks with the Chequers plan, she will be gone. So what I think she'll do is she'll shift.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, it's like someone pointed out the other day. In theory, she's a Remainer. If technically. Yeah. So this is the problem.
I think in reality she's a Remainer, Stuart.
That's the problem. She's going for the softest Brexit she can possibly get, the closest thing to sort of staying in the EU.
Yeah.
Now, I don't understand why we're Great Britain. We can't take the thing by the scruff of the neck and say, we're leaving, see you later, go back to 1974 Constitution, and just trade with the rest of the world, well, the entire world, including Europe as well, and just control our own sovereignty,
Stuart, that's what many Brexit voters want. Mrs May's Chequers plan does not deliver that. If she sticks with Chequers, she'll be gone. If she gets rid of Chequers, she'll survive. That is my view. Helena on Facebook says, the ERG proposal sounds very sensible. The PM would be foolish to reject it. Paula says, Boris is best. What does Molly in Chelmsford say? Good evening, Molly.
Good evening, Nigel.
So, does she stay, in your view, as Prime Minister, despite 50 of her own backbenchers meeting and plotting?
Well, best if she didn't, but like I say, it's so late in the day. And if she does go through with the Chequers plan, not only will be troubled, the whole Tory party will never be. But no one will want to vote them again. They'll be just so mistrusted. They'll never get in again.
I think, frankly, Molly, the Chequers plan could almost split the Tory party. And I know that's a big call for a party that's held together for 200 years. But you're right. I think if she sticks with Chequers, the voters will desert the Tory party by the million. But Molly, my guess is she'll see the pressure, she'll see how real this is, and she will be forced to chuck Chequers and go for a Canada-style deal. Molly, my money says she probably survives.
Well, if she survives this, she will be very much going straight after March next year. I can't think they're keeping on after that.
No, that may be true, but yes, if we got through and we left the EU in March next year, and it was a recognisable leave as opposed to Brexit in name only, Molly, she'd go after that and probably be well regarded by the history books. Funny how these things work. Thank you. Staying in Essex, going to Leon C. Speaking to Barry, a first-time caller to this show. Barry, good evening.
Evening. How are you, Nigel?
I'm all right. So, what should they do? Should they politically knife her, or should they stick with her and just get her to drop Chequers?
If she, like a lot of people said, if she drops Chequers, yes. But the worrying thing is, if she sticks with Chequers, and there is a leadership challenge, you get the feeling that, like, if they do suspend Article 50, that then the Remainers will come to the fore again and go, oh, we should have a second referendum. This is all, you know what I mean? And it'll go on that way. It'll go down that route again. We'll start kicking off a second referendum.
And that's probably, Barry, and that probably, having said that Boris and co didn't have the bottle, in my view, back in July, one of the reasons why they're also afraid to wield the knife in public is they do fear that bringing her down now would lead to a crisis that may lead to Article 50 being suspended, could even lead to another general election, and that's the problem, Barry. Barry, if she drops Chequers, would you vote for her again?
If she drops Chequers and she stands by what she said when they want to vote for her, then yes. But in her present guise, no, definitely not.
Do you feel a bit let down, Barry?
Yeah, massive. The way she's going, she's sold us down the river massively on everything at the moment. So,
right.
The other thing
she sold us down the Thames Estuary. Barry, I've run out of time. Lovely to hear from you. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It is now 6:30 and time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
Jacob Rees-Mogg has told LBC there's no plot to remove Theresa May over the way she's handling Brexit, but there will always be MPs who are disgruntled with the leadership. Downing Street says the Prime Minister will fight any challenge after Conservative Eurosceptics met last night to discuss her Chequers plan and the Irish border issue in particular. President Trump signed an executive order authorising sanctions against foreigners who meddle in US elections. He's drawn widespread criticism for not taking threats to the country's electoral system seriously enough, particularly allegations of Russian interference in 2016. Egyptian authorities say E. coli was a factor in the deaths of a British couple at a hotel in the country after specialists examined the premises. John and Susan Cooper from Burnley died last month in Hurghada. LBC weather, showers continuing in the north tonight, turning heavy across Scotland and Northern Ireland, drier though elsewhere, a low of 9 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, LBC.
How is a cartoonist to depict someone such as Serena Williams? Stephen Chelmsford.
When I think of caricatures, the more extreme any of the features are, the more of a caricature it is.
What would you say to Steve, Claire?
Just because caricatures doesn't mean that it's not racist.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, weekday mornings from 7, LBC.
Global's Make Some Noise Day returns on Friday the 5th of October. LBC's charity to help make some noise for those who don't get heard. This year we want to help even more charities, such as the Lily Foundation. Here's Louise, whose 2-year-old son Freddie has been helped by the organisation.
No parent goes on to have a child thinking one day they're going to lose them. The Lily Foundation are trying to do everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right now you can get involved and help change lives by donating at lbc.co.uk.
Little Red Riding Hood has been trying to sell her grandma's home for some time now, but the estate agent's shiny, sharp teeth have left her with sweat on her brow.
Trust me, darling, I just want what's best for you, hence the added fees.
However, she spoke to the friendly team at Property Rescue, who cut out the middleman and guaranteed a sale in as little as 48 hours with no fees whatsoever. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold.
based on Sarah Waters' best-selling novel, and from the Academy Award-nominated director of Room.
The first time I saw Hundreds Hall was July 1919. There was a child here.
A house with a past.
Susan died before I was born.
A family with a secret.
There's generally women at the root of this stuff.
How innocent you are.
What happened next is a mystery to me.
The Little Stranger in cinemas 21st of September.
Geeks to You has transformed our household.
And just fix their Wi-Fi and improve their download speed.
Our kids were suffering with all that buffering, but thanks to Geeks to You, we're streaming, Skyping and surfing faster than ever.
The new modem I installed made a big difference.
If your family's in techno slow-mo, call Geeks to You. They can put more Zoom in every room. They may be geeks to you, but they're IT speed freaks to me.
Thanks, Sarah. Just go to geeks2u.co.uk. That's geeks2u.co.uk.
Catch BT's stellar biggest ever mobile sale before it's gone. If you've got BT broadband at home, we've got exclusive offers for you. Grab a sparkling deal on a range of SIMs or get quadruple data on some shiny new handsets. And if you order online, you'll get a reward card to treat yourself. To catch our biggest ever mobile sale, you'll need to be quick. It ends 27th of September. Search BT Mobile today. BT, be there.
New customers only. For claim terms, see bt.com/claimmyreward.
Is your money working as hard as you do? Think about it. While you're grafting away, is your money working too? No? Then it's time to Wealthify. Wealthify is the smart, easy way to start investing. Just say how you want to invest. Cautious, adventurous, somewhere in between? And let Wealthify do the rest. Then keep track of your money on the app. Easy. Isn't it time for you to Wealthify? Download the app or visit wealthify.com. With investing, capital is at risk and you could get back less than you put in.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Conspirators gather in Westminster to get rid of Prime Minister May, but nobody really dares break out in public, and they all fear, actually, if they get rid of her, it's going to lead to a hell of a leadership contest, and maybe even the suspension of Article 50, the very thing they want to happen. So she survives for the moment, but she needs, they say, to chuck checkers, and I think on that point, they probably mean it. Now, today here in Strasbourg, Jean-Claude Juncker, European Commission President, was giving his last State of the Union speech, and he had some interesting things to say about the European Union and indeed about Brexit as well. Here he was talking about the single market.
First of all, we respect, of course, the British decision to leave our union. But we also ask the British government to understand that someone who leaves the union cannot be in the same privileged position as a member state. If you leave the union, you are, of course, no longer part of our single market, and certainly not only in parts of it.
Yes, Mr. Juncker, I agree 100%. Isn't it weird? We've spent as a country decades trying to opt out of bits of the European Union. Now we've voted to leave. The Prime Minister has been trying to opt us back into bits of it. So I was with Juncker on that completely. He then went on to talk about the Irish border.
European Commission, this Parliament and all other member states will always show loyalty and solidarity with Ireland when it comes to the Irish border. This is why we want to find a creative solution that prevents a hard border in Northern Ireland.
Well, if we get a free trade deal, of course, there'll be no problem at all. And then he talked about the real meat, the substance of his speech today. And this speech today was entitled The Hour of European Sovereignty. Here he was talking about more border guards.
We're putting forward a proposal today to strengthen the European border and coast guard. External borders must be protected more effectively, so we're proposing that the number of border agencies from the finance from the European budget by 2020 will be 10,000. We're making a proposal to extend the European Refugee Agency. They need support when it comes to processing asylum applications in line with the Geneva Convention. We're making a proposal for the return of illegal migrants.
So basically setting up a federal border agency, the European Union, to police external borders. And he's very insistent, actually, that whilst they did that, all internal borders had to be removed. Here was my reaction to the Hour of European Sovereignty speech. Well, he's painting a Europe where everything's going swimmingly, it's wonderful, they're going to centralise more deeply, there's going to be a new federal border guard with 10,000 more people, foreign policy will be without veto, reconfirmation of the European army, power, 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 power. No acknowledgement at all since his last speech of the Italian elections, the populist wave, the massive changes that are taking place. On Brexit, actually, he was reasonably positive. I mean, he's saying what a lot of them are now saying, let's just have a trade deal. You know, you voted to leave, you can't stay part of a single market, all of which makes me wonder why Mrs May wants to opt back into things. I do actually think, in some ways, if we have the right kind of British leadership, if they know we're prepared to leave on WTO rules, but would like to have a Canada Plus style trade deal, for the first time in this process, actually, I think they want to do it, and I think the pressure on Juncker and others from German and French businesses is massive to get something done. Yeah, I do feel more positive. I do think German industry particularly is saying, come on, crack on, let's get something done. So the mood here is a little bit more positive towards the Brits. But no, strange speech. You know, got to get rid of all borders, apart from external borders where we need 10,000 more people. Oh, and patriotism at a nation-state level is dangerous, is nationalistic, is xenophobic and probably racist too. But patriotism at a European level is a noble and fine thing. I still can't work it all out. They then went on, after Juncker spoke, to vote on Hungary. Big debate you may have heard yesterday on Hungary. Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister, was here, and the Parliament has voted overwhelmingly to ask the European Council to apply Article 7 of the European treaties to Hungary. They will be, shortly, stripped of their voting rights, stopped from receiving European money, and treated effectively like prisoners. And I have to say, all that will do is stoke yet further Euroscepticism, demands not to be part of this club, and further comparisons with the Soviet Union, which now the Hungarian Prime Minister is making. So none of that's going to help. Back to Mrs May. Does she survive? 50 plotters in a room, all talking about getting rid of her, but very few people breaking into the public. Time, I think, is running out, but she must chuck checkers. That's my contention. Tony is calling from Fulham. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening. Oh, it's great to hear Juncker's speech. I'll look forward to, because I'm a history teacher, to play his speeches back to my students so they can tell them what idiots we were back when we thought this was a good idea. But anyway, the Conservative Party is just far too big. It has been for far too long. And I thought after Cameron left that this is it. Then the Conservative Party is going to split, and I think that's great. We need more parties in this country. But Theresa May has done a fantastic job with keeping the party together by, through the skin of her teeth, I think. But
Yeah.
and I think that's the problem. I think everyone really realises in the sort of top parts of the Conservative Party, as soon as she goes, really, then the inevitable split of the Conservative Party will take place. And I think Theresa May is doing her damnedest to try and make sure that when she does go, and she will have to go eventually, that whoever takes her place, the possibility might be lessened. But I just think it's almost inevitable, really.
Tony, isn't the truth of it that if we had an electoral system where parties got seats relative to the number of votes they got, the Tory party would split tonight?
Oh, for sure. No, the system's been with them for so long. But I think on a matter of principle, I think we almost had it with Maastricht, but they sort of put their principles aside for it. But I think with this one, because we actually had the vote, it actually has gone through. I think there's the different circumstances, and I think on principle, and you're seeing it now. You didn't have a Jacob Rees-Mogg back then. You had Bill Cash, who, bless him, did his best, but never really went through with it. And I think the daggers are far too long now, and I think that media is as it is, and I think we're more clued up, and I think the Conservative Party is, to the fact that the public know exactly what's going on.
I like Bill Cash, and Bill Cash, very principled, and one of the main leaders of the Maastricht Rebellion. But when it came to it, what Johnny Major did to get the Maastricht Treaty through, he made it a motion of confidence. So they all supported the Prime Minister. And I asked them all why, Tony. I was told, we mustn't let Labour in. My feeling, I agree with you, my feeling is that people like Rees-Mogg and the ERG, even if they're told, Jacob, if you do this, the government will fall, there'll be a general election, Labour might get in, I think Jacob and the crew with him now would say, the hell with it, it's a matter of principle. And I do agree with you. I think this is a very, very different situation we find ourselves in. And that's why, Tony, I predict she will chuck checkers, because she knows they will not back down.
Oh, no, for sure. Well, the thing is, although I'm sure the Labour Party isn't really ready to take control, I think, either, and I think this is the perfect time. I think they do know that. The Labour Party isn't ready to so much take the reins of power if Theresa May goes, because I think that I think you're absolutely right when you said a while ago that politics is very, very fractious, and I don't think there is a full-blooded party ready to take control. I think, if anything, the time is now. I mean, what are you waiting for?
Well, Tony, thanks for that advice. Very, very sweet of you. Thank you. Let's move on to Stoke Poges in Bucks and talk to Sass, a new caller to this show. Good evening to you.
Nigel, it's good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. Welcome. So what do you think?
My issue with Theresa May is, I think, as many people feel, she made an initial position which was quite clear. She said Brexit means Brexit. She said we were going to take back control of our laws, our borders, our money.
I know. I loved it all, Sass. It was great.
Persistently, month on month, she has reneged on each one of those promises that we had as a country faith in. We thought she meant what she meant. Here we have Chequers, which she has foisted on her cabinet and the country, and is sticking doggedly to, which is a position where we are following the European rule book, which we will have no say in. Currently, we do have a say in that rule book because we are in. So the issue is we will end up in a position that's actually worse than being in as we are now. Because
I agree with that.
We have a say in that rule book.
I agree with that, Sass. And that is what Jacob and the ERG are saying. So what's to happen? I mean, if she sticks with Chequers, they will get rid of her, Sass, I'm sure of it. But if she was to get rid of Chequers, despite you identifying how weak or perhaps even dishonest she's been, if she gets rid of Chequers, and given that the clock is ticking, might it be better to stick with her in those circumstances?
Chequers has no support within the party, within the Conservative Party. It has no support within Europe.
Okay.
We heard that from Juncker today.
So let's say that Chequers is dropped. In those circumstances, despite your grave reservations about her leadership, would it be better to stick with her?
I think she needs to go.
Okay, so regardless of timetables, regardless of difficulties, she needs to go because she's not been straight with us, yeah?
She's not been straight with us, and she can't, she's unable to lead a very divided party. She hasn't healed wounds within the party. I think she's polarised the party.
No. Okay, Sass, thank you very much indeed. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show. Here on LBC, it's now 6:45 and it's time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
LBC's been told there's no plot to remove Theresa May over the way she's handling Brexit, but leading Conservative Eurosceptic Jacob Rees-Mogg says there will always be MPs disgruntled with those in power. President Trump signed an executive order authorising sanctions against foreigners who meddle in US elections. And authorities in Egypt say E. coli was a factor in the deaths of a British couple from Burnley who were on holiday there last month. LBC weather, showers continuing in the north tonight, drier though elsewhere, a low of 9 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. They're accusing Croydon Mitcham Road is closed in both directions because of a police investigation at Sumner Road. On the A40 Western Avenue, 2 lanes are closed at the Greenford flyover because of an accident. It means they're accused from RAF Northolt. There's only one Woolwich ferry running, that's because of technical problems. It's very slow on City Road in both directions between Angel and Old Street, that's because of roadworks. In Walthamstow, it's slow on Hoe Street because the traffic lights aren't working at Walthamstow Central Station. On the rails, there's no London Overground between Clapham Junction and Surrey Quays because of a faulty train at Clapham High Street. And on the Tube, Regent's Park Station is closed on the Bakerloo line. That's because the lifts aren't working.
This is LBC.
It's time. Time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. With stunning HD video, crisp audio, and instant wireless sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
This Wednesday, it's a £13.5 million Lotto rollover. Who wins if you win?
If I won on Lotto on Wednesday, I would buy my best mate a kebab shop and a kebab van. He's got a really friendly face and makes everyone laugh, and yeah, he's got a big heart.
Lotto. Get your ticket today. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Based on Sarah Waters' best-selling novel and from the Academy Award-nominated director of Room.
The first time I saw Hundreds Hall was July 1919. Who was a child here?
A house with a past.
Susan died before I was born.
A family with a secret.
There's generally women at the root of this stuff.
How innocent you are.
What happened next is a mystery to me.
The Little Stranger in cinemas 21st of September.
Calling all hard-working minicab drivers. Are you earning between £1,000 and £1,600 per week? No? Well, you could be, with Greyhound Car's 18% commission rate. As part of a pooling group of 45 minicab companies in London, we have high demand and are now offering 18% commission deals for new drivers. We allocate each job within 5 seconds to the nearest available driver, so you spend less time travelling to jobs and more time earning money. Apply today at greyhoundcars.co.uk.
The Volkswagen Caddy from just £179 per month on contract hire now comes with 2 free services. So instead of spending your money on this, you could spend it on this. Or even this. Incredible offers to help your business thrive. Search Volkswagen Caddy to find out more. Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles. Working with you. Business users only, excluding VAT at 20%, over 36 months, £537 initial rental. T's and C's apply. No ownership. Until the 30th of September 2018. Volkswagen Finance.
There's things in life you just can't control, like the weather, the traffic, or the fact that spilled coffee seems to love white shirts. But it's all good, because there's something you'll always be able to control, your company's finances. SAP Concur integrates all your business's expenses, travel and invoicing in one simple solution, giving you the visibility and control you need to drive your business forward. SAP Concur. It's how the best-run businesses make their expenses run better. Learn more at concur.co.uk/control.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
There's huge anger in the country amongst Brexit voters and Tory voters that Mrs May has backed away from the promises she made and given us the Chequers deal. The ERG, European Research Group, 50 of them plotting in a room in Westminster last night, and still she survives. Is she the right person to stay on? And lots of you commenting on this. Chris says, May must deliver exactly what she said in her manifesto. The Tories will be finished for years if she doesn't. She lied. Theresa is toast, but the gutless, spineless hardliners in her party don't have the cojones to challenge her. Who can save us from this nightmare scenario? May will survive because of the incorrigible blue Labour Blairites. Let's go to Croydon, speak to Barry, a new caller to this show. Barry, does she survive all of this?
Well, I think she should take a leaf out of John Major's book and tell the treacherous Brexiteers to either put up or shut up. I mean, they clearly have the numbers, and they only need 48 of them to trigger a Tory leadership election. But I think that's what she should do. You know, she's obviously got a very thick skin, because a lot of people would have tired of them by now, all the backbiting going on, and
it's horrible,
called a leadership election already. But Barry, that's what they want. Hell, go for it. Let's have a leadership election. Put the whole timetable on hold and settle it for one for all. I think the Tories would then, the more sensible Tories, would gather round her and defeat the treacherous Brexiteers. And she
Barry, twice you've done that, right? Twice you've called them treacherous. If they were sitting in my seat now, if Jacob was sitting in my seat now, he'd say, good Lord, no. Far from treacherous, all we're asking the Prime Minister to do is to honour not just the referendum result, but the manifesto upon which you were elected last year. That, Barry, let me put it to you, that is not treachery.
Many people, because how can you have one arrangement for goods and a separate one for services? I mean, if you're doing if one of the train companies over here is doing a 30-year deal to buy 100 new trains, it's going to come with a 30-year service agreement. So how can you separate the train from the service agreement? It doesn't make sense. It's stupid, and there's many other examples of that. But on the Northern Ireland border, it's not been settled. They say that we could have a similar arrangement to Norway, Sweden. Well, that's not the case, because Norway's in the European Free Trade Area, Sweden's in the EU. We would be a different situation in Ulster. you'd have you don't in
Barry,
you don't have the Good Friday Agreement. So how are you going
Barry,
to...
if we have a free trade deal, there'll be no difficulties at all with the Northern Ireland border. If we don't have a free trade deal, there will be issues with tariffs. But hey, already we've got different currencies, different tax rates and all the rest of it. All right, Barry, you've made your point. Barry says, face them up like John Major did. John says, she cannot motivate, communicate. She lacks good judgment. She's worse than John Major. Gosh. If Boris and Mog, Nick says, join forces, they can get at least 17.4 million votes at the next general election. They will walk it. Do you really think... honestly think, Nick, that the 5 million Brexit voters who then voted for Corbyn are going to vote for two old Etonians? Maybe. I'm not sure they all will. Hey, another new caller is Simon in Westminster. Good evening, Simon.
Good evening, Nigel. We need to get out of the EU, and we need a leader who can get a motion through Parliament and through the EU. Today we had David Davis coming on board. He's the previous Secretary of State for getting out. And he was the most likely person to come up with some ideas around which most people could gather so that a decent motion could get through Parliament and get through the EU. But you're not running your programme tonight on that because it didn't even have legs. So we're really in a situation whereby...
Well, I have asked, Simon. I have asked. I have asked for people to give their alternative views. I mean, are you, Simon? Are you saying that you think David Davis, given his age and seniority, could be a good person to steer the ship through the next 6-12 months?
It's not his age and his experience. He's actually been in the government with Boris, looking at all the details, all the documents, to come up with something tangible to oppose Chequers. Yeah. Why the hell hasn't he? Where is this alternative deal? If they're going to get it through Parliament and going to get it through the EU, Davis and Boris should have been the two people who could have done that. They were right there at the coal face. They've got themselves out, and what have they come up with? Sweet FA. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, you're clearly very worked up, Simon, and that's fine. Passion is important. But actually, they have come up with plans. I mean, let's be honest. There they were with Economists for Free Trade yesterday, talking about a Canada Plus style deal, or, if not that, nothing to fear from WTO. Today, they've had a press conference talking about Northern Ireland. I do think, Simon, they are beginning now to put positive alternatives. Thank you for your call. Marcus says, May is no better than Merkel. They're both destroying their own countries. Oh, well, Marcus, you can say that if you want to. I don't think she's willfully trying to destroy the country. I just think she's caught, isn't she, as a leader? She's trying to appease both sides of her party at the same time, and in the end, actually, do you know what? Pleasing no one. Let's go to Tunbridge and speak to Steve. Steve, good evening.
Oh, hi there, Nigel. Long time no speak. I'll quickly just summarise what I want to say, because I know you're running out of time, but I'll just say what I think should happen and what I think will happen.
Yeah, go on.
So what I think should happen is that Mrs. May should carry on and show everyone what a wonderful socialist she is, and prove to everyone that there's nothing conservative about the Tories. And
she's very good at that, Steve. Yeah.
Therefore, us real conservatives will just not vote for them, and we can have a completely different party, which would be lovely. But what I think will happen is that she's going to carry on, and she's going to get such a horrible mess that nobody's going to want it, and they're going to use that as an excuse to drum up another referendum. And I predict that Leave will win, and then we're going to have a third one, and then we're going to have a fourth one until they actually get the result they want, and then we're going to all pretend that the EU is democratic.
Well, if I have to say, Steve, I don't think that's going to play out, but if we had endless referendums, I think any public confidence and belief in our governing system would disappear totally. But I do take your point that to many voters like you, who consider themselves real conservatives, she does not tick that box. Thank you. My last caller tonight on this subject is Adam in Southampton. Good evening, Adam.
Good evening, Nigel. Pleasure to speak to you. Very quickly, can we have an interview with Mr. May? Can we broaden the whole question of what's going on and see what he thinks about things? Because if I've had together as a kind of unit.
I've had some theories on this show, with a lot of callers thinking that Mr. May is a very powerful influence. I have no idea, Adam, whether that's true or not.
Yes.
Dennis Thatcher, of course, famously didn't give interviews. and was asked towards the end of Margaret's time as Prime Minister why, and he replied, I think it better to be thought an idiot rather than to open my mouth and remove all doubt, which I thought was quite a good answer from Dennis.
Very good.
And he was a very witty man. But OK, Mr May, but apart from Mr May,
yes.
Adam, and we can speculate on that, but I doubt he'll ever give an interview. Do you think she's going to survive as Tory leader?
Well, I think most people that have called it on one particular view, for example, are pretty tired of it all, really, this kind of use of complexity as a weapon in a way, the use of lots of legal jargon and things like this. So I'd probably say it's time for a change. And the power can change very quickly. On the election night, power changes very quickly from one person to the next. So I think if they wanted to, perhaps they could get things done quite quickly. But I'm just tired of it.
Oh, Adam, I think many people are. They could do it quickly if there was an uncontested election. If the magic circle, as it used to be called in the Tory party, met and chose a leader. But the divisions are too great for that to happen. Adam, I thank you. I'll finish with Harj, who says to me by text, even you must now be thinking that Brexit is completely disastrous. There is no solution to the Irish border. Please admit this catastrophic error and try and help get the country a proper deal. If not, we should stay in. Harj, no, I'm not giving up on it. I believe Brexit's absolutely the right thing for our country, but has been handled appallingly and dishonestly by this Prime Minister, who's let the civil servants make the running and not the elected politicians. But it can still be saved. You'll be listening to the Nigel Farage Show on LBC. I'll be back in London tomorrow at 6. At 10 tonight is Tom Swarbrick. But up next, it's Ian Dale.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Now, welcome to the show. On the LBC News Hour next, we'll be talking to a Conservative MP who's had enough of Theresa May. And Vladimir Putin assures us that the two people fingered for the Salisbury attack are civilians, not criminals. Well, you can be both, Spasiba. We'll have news of Pope Francis and the reason a British couple died in an Egyptian hotel. At 8, it's Cross Question. Our panel tonight, Labour MP Stephen Kinnock, Conservative MP and Financial Secretary to the Treasury Mel Stride, Claire Fox from the Academy of Ideas, and Corbyn supporting columnist and writer Rachel Shabby. And at 9, should Justin Welby have entered the world of politics at the TUC conference? Was he playing to his audience, merely misguided, or saying what needed to be said?
On your radio, on your phone, and here.
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.